Ryan, and today the claim I'm going to be refuting is changing the NFL schedule to have 2 preseason games and 18 regular season games. Will have a negative effect on the players and the fans. The advocates' 3 secondary claims are: 1, taking away 2 preseason games would be devastating to the undrafted rookies trying to make the team. 2, making regular 18-season games would increase the risk of injury to the players. And 3, adding more 2 regular season games to the season will make it harmful for the fans. In response to my advocate's first claim, that taking away 2 preseason games will be devastating to the chances of undrafted rookies, the NFL is currently coming up with ways in which rookies will recruit themselves as coaches. As stated in an article from USA Today, coaches are considering planning out scrimmages and combined practices with local teams in order to play the undrafted rookies. Also, they are considering larger training camps in which more rookies will be able to play in training camps, and since there's still the same amount of games, the rookies will most likely be able to play anyway. In response to a second claim that making the regular season 18 games long raises risk of injuries, it is suggested in the NFL that they should revert to the old injury reserve policy. The old injury reserve policy stated that if a player was placed in the injury reserve, she would be taken out for the entire season. Second, the idea of the number of season games would increase the risk of injury would logically drive away players from playing too long. With that being said, from 1962 to 1977, when the NFL season was 14 games long, 7.49% of players were 10-year veterans. And then when they changed it from 14 to 16 games, from 1974 to 2010, 8.93% of players were 10-year veterans. So, in fact, the number of 10-year veterans increased when they increased the number of games from 14 to 16. The third claim that my advocate stated was that adding 2 more regular season games would be harmful to the fans. Yet the idea of adding more regular games to the season would make it for the fan can be disregarded. First off, in the first argument, one of his arguments for the first claim was that the fans would be disappointed that they wouldn't be able to see their favorite players play early on. Cutting down the preseason games down to 2 allows the fans to see their favorite players sooner. Second, the NFL already has rules to prevent such harm from players and spectators in severe weather. The rulebook states that games should be suspended, canceled, postponed, or terminated when circumstances exist such that commencement or continuation of play would pose a threat to the safety of participants or spectators. In conclusion, the NFL is constantly thinking of ways to help the rookies prove themselves and to protect their players and spectators.
All right, structurally everything's easy to follow. The first point really seems to suggest that there are alternatives available. Since it hasn't been tried yet, we don't really know the practicality of those alternatives. And it would be useful if you could show, for instance, that undrafted free agents, or rookies I should say, have been able to make the team before they had this current system, or for instance that they've been able to be signed without even going through a preseason sort of situation. I think that there might be some data on that based on other leagues, for instance, the old USFL, the European Football League, and the Arena League being some examples, so that people could in fact gain access without having to have those preseason games. I think that would give you a stronger argument there. Otherwise, it sounds like you're suggesting a policy claim. The injured reserve argument, I think, definitely is a policy argument in response to that, and you don't clearly explain how it would address this issue. The best argument that you have in your response is the challenge on the longevity of the career. You basically have a statistic here that shows that as the seasons got longer, people's average 10-year careers increased. So that we had greater longevity in people's careers even though the seasons got longer, which seems to directly respond to the argument that the advocate was presenting. On your fan argument, I think that you're responding to an issue that is not really the one that's in dispute here. The notion that the fans will be protected somehow, that sounds mostly like it's related to inclement weather or disaster. It doesn't necessarily talk about whether or not the fans are getting their money's worth or their disappointment at who they're going to get to see on the field. So it seems like it's you're throwing rocks at the wrong subject there, and that needs a little bit more direct response. Thank you.